Baking a loaf of perfect banana bread is an art, as well as science, and it often needs some trial and error to get that perfect look and texture. If you have retrieved your banana bread from the oven and it is too gummy, tense, mushy, or sunken in the middle, there is not much you can do now. But luckily, most of these problems have an easy solution, and with some simple changes and adjustments, you will get perfect banana bread next time. So, let's look at some of the most common banana bread problems and what may have caused them. Your banana bread is half raw and undercooked in the middle. The first thing to do is to adjust the oven temperature or the cooking time. If the loaf is already golden brown outside and still undercooked inside, then try lowering your oven temperature by 50 degrees Fahrenheit or 10 degrees Celsius. Some ovens just run hot, but this can also happen if the temperature stated in your recipe was meant for a gas oven, but you are using an electric fan-assisted oven. When using fan-assisted ovens, cooking temperatures should generally be reduced by around 50 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit or 10 to 20 degrees Celsius. This is because the fan in the oven circulates hot air around the loaf, ensuring a more even temperature and baking your bread faster. If you notice that your loaf is browning before it is cooked in the middle, loosely covering it with foil will protect the surface from the direct heat and allows more even baking throughout. To make sure your loaf is cooked inside, test your banana bread by inserting a wooden toothpick or knife into the middle. If it comes out clean and free of batter, it is done. If not, leave it in the oven, checking it every 5 to 10 minutes. Your banana bread is chewy and gummy. The bottom of the bread just doesn't have that light, fluffy texture. Rather, it is thick, chewy, and sticky. In most cases, it could be that your loaf was just not baked long enough and could have used an extra 10 minutes in the oven. However, if that was not the case, then here are a few other things you could consider. For example, the ratio of liquid is too much for the flour you used. The solution is to add more flour. Try adding 1 tablespoon at a time. The batter texture should be a little thicker than pancake batter. Also, the recipe may need you to add more baking soda and baking powder. It gives the banana bread a light texture and causes it to rise and puff up. A good rule is 1 teaspoon baking powder to 1 cup of flour, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda to 1 cup of flour. Of course, you don't want to use too much of them either, which could cause some other problems, which I will cover shortly. What also can cause your banana bread to turn out chewy or gummy is using frozen or overly ripe bananas, which can make your loaf too moist and gooey. Make sure to drain the excess liquid from the mashed banana. Too much liquid will give it that wet, gooey texture in the middle. Your banana bread is dense and rubbery. This is always disappointing when your loaf doesn't rise properly and seems to be thick and heavy. It could still taste okay, but let's look at what went wrong. Don't overmix the cake batter. It is more important than you think. If you overmix the batter, this can create a very dense loaf. You want to gently fold in the dry ingredients. Try not to use an electric mixer or a food processor. When overmixed, it causes the gluten to start developing. Overdeveloped gluten will cause the bread to have a chewy and rubbery texture. Your banana bread is flat or sunken in the middle. Very often, this is down to incorrectly measured ingredients. Your batter might not have enough of the dry ingredients or too many wet ingredients. When the batter has more moisture content than it should, and it lacks structural ingredients like flour, that is the main cause of the cake to rise and then collapse. Also, don't check on your banana bread too early. The reason is that the temperature needs to stay consistent. When you let the cooler air into the oven, it can mess with the bread's even cooking, making it sink. To solve this, keep the door closed until it seems almost done. Then it's time to check. Also, too much baking soda or baking powder could cause your loaf to collapse. You need to add them in proportion to the other ingredients in your recipe. Too little or too much baking powder or baking soda will lead to too little or too much gas forming in your banana bread, which will make it not rise enough or rise way too quickly and cause the loaf to sink. The loaf completely collapsing in the middle is due to the air escaping from the still raw batter, and the middle part of the loaf sinks back down. If the problem you are having with your banana bread was not covered in this video, don't worry. Follow the link in the description below this video to my complete list of banana bread troubleshooting and solutions. Check it out now.